Hello, everybody. This is Mark Nugent, and you're watching Mark Nugent Live. Let me just adjust my sound here, make sure everything is okay. Today on the broadcast, we're going to have Mayor Pro-Tem Christina Shea will be joining us live. Excuse me, let me adjust my microphone. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section, and we'll read them off and we'll ask her. So today on the broadcast, we have Mayor Pro-Tem Christina Shea. Sounds a bit of an echo. Okay, let me plug in my earpiece. Is better, really good. Christina Shea was first. I'm going to read her bio, and then I'm going to get her on the phone, just in case if you're wondering. So, Christina Shea was first elected to Irvine City Council in 1992 in a landslide victory. She is passionate about serving her community and was elected Irvine Mayor in 1996 and re-elected in 1998. In 2002, Christina returned to the Irvine City Council and served as council member until 2010. In 2012, she was once more again elected to the City Council, where she continues to serve. Most recently, in 2017, she was nominated and chosen as Mayor Pro Tem. In addition to her council duties, she is a member of the Irvine Unified School District Liaison Committee, a board member of the Transportation Corridor Agencies, and a board member of the Irvine Community Land and Trust. In the past, she has served as a chairwoman of the Orange County Great Park Board of Directors, chair of the Task Force to Review Housing Needs and the Needs of the Developmentally Disabled, the chairwoman of the Ad Hoc Veterans Affordable Housing Committee and the Ad Hoc Great Park Forensic Audit Committee, the board of the El Toro Ruse Planning Authority and the Orange County Sanitation District. She currently serves as the vice chair for the Transportation Corridor Agencies, working for OC Transportation and Mobility Solutions. She has been named one of the Orange County's Leaders of the Year by the California Women's Leadership Association, featured as one of the most influential women in Orange County by the Orange County Metro magazine in 2008. She was recognized by Assemblyman Chuck DeVore to be Woman of the Year for the 70th Assembly District. Mayor Pro Tem Christina Shea brought forward a proposal to make Irvine one of the first cities in the United States to use only organic pesticide abatement practices in our local parks, green belts, and open spaces. And she recently championed the development of an Orange County veteran cemetery at the former MCAS El Toro military base. She has always been a strong supporter of local law enforcement and has seen the city of Irvine reap the rewards of being named for 11 consecutive years as America's safest city among the cities of a population more than 200,000 people. Dedicated to a sound fiscal responsibility for both the present and the future, Christina Shea supports the privatization and opposes municipal tax increases. During her years as mayor, she helped streamline Irvine's municipal services, saving taxpayer dollars and creating greater efficiencies. Additionally, Mayor Pro Tem Shea has served with numerous volunteer organizations, including the Board of Directors of the American Cancer Society, the Board of Directors for the Irvine Child Care Project, and the advisory board and past capital campaign director for Human Options. Ms. Shea has been a resident of Irvine since 1977 and currently lives in Quail Hill. Apart from many civic duties, she is an independent business consultant and realtor. Oh, that was a big bio. So anyway, we're going to get her on the phone here in a minute. Excuse me. Man, every time I get on camera, I start coughing. Never before or after. So, okay, let me get her on the phone, and we're going to do a live interview with Mayor Pro Tem Christina Shea. We're going to discuss some of the local stuff going on and things that are going on, and then the election, of course. All right. Okay, let me give her a call. So you guys should be able to hear her. All right, we're good.
Hello.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem Shea.
Yes, hi, Mark. How are you?
Doing good, and we are live. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you wonderfully.
Okay, it's just audio that we're doing today.
Okay, that's great.
And I just read your biography that was on the website for the city.
Okay, wonderful.
You are on a lot of boards.
I know. It's a little
Sorry?
a little tedious at times. And some of those that are disclosed on the city website are boards that I recently have been on, and we've had a change in January, so we probably are going to have to update that a bit.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're live. So, as you know, I've been campaigning to help Don Wagner get elected to the OC Board of Supervisors. I just wanted to ask you, are you also supporting Don Wagner for OC Board of Supervisors?
Yes, I am, and I've been working with him, as you have, to support him, and hopefully he will be successful next Tuesday.
That's great. How long have you known Don for?
I've probably known Don for at least 20 years. He's been a longtime resident of Irvine, as I have, and he was, even before he became a working on the Saddleback School District. So it's been probably 20 years, I would think, if not longer.
Well, that was my next question. Do you know him when he worked as a state assemblyman? But you just answered that question. So what are some of the major issues that you feel? He has them listed, and I have his literature. But do you have any other side that he mentions in his literature? Issues: no new taxes, tough on crime, balance the budget, and solve the homeless problem. Are there any issues that you'd like to add on to that off the top of your head?
I would say public safety is certainly top of his priority. It certainly has been here in Irvine, and being very cautious with our tax dollars. That's something, the city of Irvine was just named the top city actually in the United States for fiscal conservation and our standards of the less indebtedness that many cities have. A lot of indebtedness, but we do not. We're very prudent with our budgeting process, and we have very little debt. Our city hall's paid off. So I just feel that Don will be very good at controlling the spending and making sure that the money, our tax dollars, are spent wisely.
Yeah.
But then, of course, public safety is a major issue for Don. And I believe that certainly with the fires that we dealt with, about a year and a half ago, he's been very careful to be looking into that. I know former Supervisor Sean Nelson was very concerned about the response time during those fires. So I know Don is taking that on and very aggressively, and wants to make sure that if we ever come into a period of time like that with all the open space, especially around Irvine and other parts of Orange County, that we are on target to respond with drones. That's something that we've been working on here in the city, and it's something that I believe the fire department is looking to implement in more aggressively, that we can send the drones out and make sure that when we hear about an initial fire starting, that it doesn't take us 30 minutes to respond, but that we could respond much more quickly.
That's awesome. Excuse me. So moving along, as you're aware, hope my mic's not too loud. No,
it's fine.
Okay, as you're aware, and some viewers may not be, or listeners, as a mayor pro tem, you automatically become mayor when Don is elected, correct?
Yes, I actually, I would become mayor. I have 7 days to make that decision. And if I make that decision, then yes, I would become mayor, and then I could run. I do not believe it can be challenged the way it's structured. So I would become mayor, and then I would serve until the end of his term, which would be into 2020.
Okay. Now, how did you become, it said on your bio in 2017, you were voted in to become mayor pro tem. Can you explain that process?
Yes, it's pretty simple. It just generally we do that in December, and so we just go out. We just ask for nominations, and we're voted by the majority of our board, our council. Okay. So I was supported in 2017, and then just appointed again in 2018.
Okay, that was a couple of people had the question of how does someone become mayor pro tem, and you answered it. It's a vote of the council.
Exactly.
Awesome. And some other people had the question also about term limits and someone's being, quotes, termed out or not termed out, or they have to be on or off. How long can someone serve on the city council? How long is mayor? If they have a break, can they come back? Can you tell us a little bit about the current rules and speculate?
Yes, sure, of course. For years, many years, I was first elected in 1992. And then I ran directly elected for mayor. So I served 4 years, and a council member can serve 2 terms of 4 years. Then they could, this is the former rules. So they could run for 2 terms if they won the first 4 years, and then run another 4 years. And then so I ran 4 years, then I ran directly elected mayor, and you can run 2 terms for 2 years. Then I took a break. I've always taken a break, but we used to have, not now, we used to have actually term limits, but they were revolving term limits. So you could serve for 2 terms at 4 years as council, then you could run for mayor and serve two terms, and then you could go back and run for council. And so this was something that went on pretty much for almost 30 years. But every time I served after the 8-year period, I would always take a 2-year break. And then people called me and asked me to come back, and I did. So I've always adhered to term limits. So just recently, the last 2 years, we voted in very restrictive term limits. So now, as you come in, if you're elected, just like say this past November, if you're on council, you could run 2 consecutive council terms, which would be 8 years. And then if you decided to run for mayor and you won, you could serve 2 terms as mayor. Now, if you didn't want to run for mayor, then your term would be up after 8 years and you no longer could run again.
Okay. Excuse me. Besides becoming mayor, if something happens to the current mayor, what else does the mayor pro tem do?
Well, it's pretty similar to what all council members do. We attend meetings. Like, for instance, we had the opening of the Los Olivos. This specifically would be for Mayor Pro Tem, the Los Olivos Community Center and the park. And so the mayor could not attend because he has so many other things he's doing. So I attended in his place and officiated over the dedication of the park and the community center. And so generally the mayor pro tem will step in and serve in that type of capacity for the mayor, go to ribbon cuttings. But then again, also council members also are invited to most of these events, and they also can go and attend. But being mayor pro tem, if anything happened to the mayor, then obviously the mayor pro tem or vice mayor takes over and fills in for the mayor when the mayor is not there, or if the mayor is out of the country. The mayor pro tem would run meetings where the council would not be doing that. So the mayor pro tem would run and fill in and run a council meeting or a great park meeting for that matter, if in fact the mayor could not attend.
Yeah, I saw the opening. It was posted on Facebook. Yeah, I saw the opening of Los Olivos. I saw that.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay,
yeah,
good. Yeah, that was great.
Some people
this is our 13th community center. We have one more in Gateway Park that will be opening probably not for a year and a half, but the Gateway Park is at the northern end of Irvine, and it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a very large linear park with all kind of wonderful features. So once we get that information and we get moving and getting that'll be our final community center and community park.
That's awesome. So I have another question. We had some comments too, by the way.
Okay.
Derek Hood, I'm not sure if you know him. He said, Mayor Wagner, great guy and mayor. And then Stephanie says, Christina Shea, she's an amazing woman. Derek Hood said she is. There's some comment section. I thought I'd just give some feedback.
That's nice. Well, tell them thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, they can hear. Okay.
Okay, good.
So some other more of just lighthearted stuff. So what's some of your favorite things or things, maybe top 1, 2, or 3 things you love about serving on the Irvine City Council?
Well, it has wonderful opportunities when you're an elected official. I think that certainly going out to the local schools and talking to the youth in schools like Read Across America, that's always fun. And students, of course, think when you come in, that these young students are so darling, and they think you're like, they ask me, oh, do you ride in a limousine? Do you have bodyguards? Do you eat dinner with the President of the United States? I mean, it's just so cute. They're just so darling. So I really enjoyed that part of outreach when the schools are involved with what I do as a council member. I really enjoy going over the budget because I really like numbers. I'm into numbers. So I like it when our budgetary process begins. And now that we're having a 2-year budget, it's even going to be better and less stressful after we get through this first year. It's much more open and transparent process now, and it's starting a lot earlier. So I really like working on the budget. And then I also, enjoy going out to events and meeting the public. Like we had a pony baseball opening, which I try to go every year, and that's just great. You see the young kids and the families, and it's just great to be part of such a beautiful, wonderful city that we're all so integrated. We get along well, most of us. We had our differences at times, and people can get a little difficult, but generally speaking, most people are just so nice, and they love our city. It's a beautiful community, as we all know. So I think those are probably the top three reasons why I like being on the city council.
Awesome.
It isn't for the pay, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, isn't it just a couple $100 a month, I think, right?
We may actually, I think it's around 1,700 as part of, we also get paid for all the extra work we do for the Great Park.
Okay.
There's a lot of work developing that project. But yeah, it's not for the mayor eventually, because we've become such a large city. We're probably going to have to go back out to voters or find a way that the mayor would get some kind of compensation, maybe 80, 90,000, and a council maybe 60,000, because it really makes it very difficult for people that are trying, and I'm always struggling, as many do, to make a living, and then also spend so many hours on the committees I have to attend to serve the city. So I think a reasonable increase in compensation down the road would be very important. And it opens the door for others to be able to run and not have to have, knowing that you're just well-to-do, or you have your own personal successful business, or maybe, like I'm single, so it's more difficult for me. I can't depend on my husband to help with his income. So I think eventually it would be a real important thing that we consider that as a community.
I'd have to agree with you. I've been around Mayor Wagner, and it's almost like a full-time job for him.
Well, see, that's the issue. And if Don wins, it's something I've really struggled with the last couple months, because it takes so much of your time. And just to address that, if in fact Don wins, and I really hope he does, I really believe he would be the most qualified individual to be on the Board of Supervisors. But, I would be much more inclusive of my council members to be helping me and supporting me with all the commitments I would have as mayor. So I would be a little bit more open to really reaching out to each member of my council, all of us, and getting support from them to attend events when I couldn't do it, or if I had to work. So you'll probably see that when Don wins, that I would be really open to having a very good, successful team working for me.
Okay, okay. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I have one question off script, because I'm trying to keep track of all the events, and I'm trying to attend as many as I can. How do you keep track of them all?
Well, that's why we have a nice staff. I actually, being a council member, we do have our own personal aides that they're part-time employees for the city. We have a certain amount of money that we get every year, and then my staff will help me. They sent me we get so many invitations every week and via the month. So they'll send me invitations, and we go over them, and I'll say, well, I could attend this, but there's a conflict with that. And then they keep my calendar basically for me. And then, of course, with all the great technology today, staff can add all the events onto my calendar. So it's very simple to just pull it. I just have to pull it up every day and make sure I read it, so I don't forget to go to an event. But that's how it's structured.
Awesome. Okay. As you know, stop signs and traffic have been an issue. You, Don, and Melissa, the whole council really is working to make stop sign compliance and traffic better. Can you give us any updates on the Traffic Commission findings yet? Or if not, because I know it's 6 months, when will the reports be ready?
Right. Well, we're supposed to have a great transportation update this coming Tuesday. I just talked to our transportation director, Mark Linsenmeyer, and he said we're going to have an update this coming Tuesday. So I really want to encourage everyone to tune in to Channel 30 and watch us, or come on down, because they're going to give us, go over the findings and what nuances that we're going to be working on. We have these new signalization programs that are synchronized. That's right. Still get frustrated. I go up Sand Canyon. I live in Quail Hill, and it's just amazing. Even on a Saturday, if I hit a red light at the beginning, right by the 405 freeway, I find that I hit almost every red light going up to Portola. So it gets a little frustrating, but our staff is really working to make these changes. It's going to be over a period of time, but they are working on it, and we're going to move our iTrack center out to this train station free up more space for our public safety department. But then that will be good because we'll be doing more upgrading with that center being there. Where the train station is, we have some of those big offices there. So I think it's going to be a lot more efficient, and we'll start to see a lot more changes. Stop signs, on the other hand, it's a personal responsibility issue with residents. I live here in Quail Hill. When you go up toward the school or around my area, I see people just rolling right through the stop signs, or just flying through them, matter of fact. So it's a real problem, but it becomes an issue of personal responsibility. And, we have to encourage our friends and neighbors that they need to follow the law. They're going to hurt someone someday. And all the young children we have out on our sidewalks and streets, and pets, it's a real problem.
Well, I personally thank you for getting involved in that. One of my daughter's friend was actually getting a hit and run, and the city has been great in responding to that.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that.
No serious injuries though. They're okay.
Oh, that's great.
So sticking on the public safety, at the last council meeting, Councilmember Kuo proposed a new legislation to keep us safe, with which both you and I supported. I thought it would have been unanimous vote. Can you tell us a little more about that, or provide some insight?
Well, yeah, it's, when we the public voted for Prop 47, I think it was Prop 59 as well. I think it was another one, was it 109? I can't remember. But we all agreed a majority of us agreed to prison reform. But it was to understand that low level criminals would be let out so that we could, help them in rehabilitation programs. Many of these are people that are on drugs and not selling drugs. That's a major offense. It's a felony. So that's not it. But maybe taking drugs, having a small amount in their car, whether it was marijuana or something else. So that was always, I think, most of our understanding. But over time, what's happened is that now some of these very serious crimes, such as sex trafficking and abuse of a child under 8, if they're abused unconscious, these people can go to jail and be let out very shortly. Wow. And there's others. Maybe you remember, Mark. Can you remember some of the other?
You caught most of the big ones, and I spoke in support. And
yeah, you did, and I was so glad you came out. What was shocking is 3 years ago, I brought forward a proposal to work with the DA's office in the county to really, crack down on sex trafficking. And because it is an issue, we have a problem here in Orange County. And so we allocated an officer in our budget to participate and to work with the Orange County District Attorney. It was a big, important issue for me. And, we had no pushback at all. It was bipartisan. Everyone seemed to support it. So I was very surprised when like 10 people came out, and don't want to cast aspersions because I work well with my Democratic colleagues on the council, but there were basically Democrats that came out and said, "Oh, this is ridiculous. You're going too far. We can't be, looking at this. You're being too punitive." Well, I don't think being punitive for sex traffickers, that they should be getting out of jail within a year.
I agree with that.
Or people that are raped. I mean, these are serious crimes. And Dawn and I and Anthony supported it. I'm very glad that Anthony brought it forward. And again, I thank you and others that showed up to support us. And we need more of that in the future, because I'm really getting concerned about just the mindset of people today, that some of these very serious issues don't seem to be serious issues to people anymore. And they should be. It's the rule of law, and we have to follow it.
I think it is serious, and I think you'll find a lot of support. When I ran for school board in 2016, I ran on safety, and there's nothing but support there. I was going to ask you to please keep us up to date on Anthony's legislation, and I'm betting $1 million the entire community will support you guys. That's just.
Well, I think once you roll it out, the logic of it all. I mean, who would want a sex trafficker harming these darling children and even young adults, and then thinking, well, that's fine, you can get out? And it's almost, I wouldn't consider it a misdemeanor, but they're in there such a short time, and they're letting all of these very serious criminals out on the streets. Okay. And it's very problematic. And a lot of this is why we have the homeless problem throughout the state of California. Our public safety department has told us is because now some are legitimately, I mean, they just have fallen on hard times, and we need to help them. We need to find solutions. Many of them are drug addicts, and some don't even want to go into shelters. They just enjoy being on the street and dealing drugs. And this is a really difficult thing that we need to deal with it. We can't just let this overrun our communities.
Well, you'll get a lot of support. People that were previously running against each other or disagreeing all came together that night to support Anthony. So I really was happy to see that. And I was
too. And I was so glad to see, it's been a long time since we've seen our local supporters come out and support us. And I was so excited because, our council needs that. I've been around long enough that I can certainly take the punches. I'm used to it, but it's really important that our residents get involved in some of these very serious issues and support their council because it really does help us.
Okay. But yeah, on that one, you're going to get a lot of support. I know it. I'm sure of it. So going to the next question. In preparing for this interview, I asked our friends, John Park, you know him, and Peter, also you know him, what questions I should ask you, and they had the following questions for you. John Park wants to know, when Dawn wins this election, you'll be mayor again. The city has changed so much. Will you do anything differently this time?
Hold on 1 second. I have to put my dog outside. There's a little squirrel that gets up on my bird feeder, and she loves to bark at it. Okay, would you? I apologize. Will you repeat that question?
John Park asked, "When Dawn wins this election, you'll be mayor again. This city has changed so much. Will you do anything differently this time?"
Well, I think that probably I won't do anything different because I think the way I serve the public and the way I oversee meetings will be very similar. I do, as I suggested, I certainly will want more support from my council members based on the fact that I have to work a lot more than I did back then. I was able to do it full time, but now it's more difficult for me. But the issues are different. We have a much more diverse community now. We have obviously a very much larger community. We have the development is certainly, I think, to all of us. I believe in a balance of business and growth. We need it. It keeps our finances strong. But on the other hand, we have to keep control of some of this excess, and certainly with the traffic issues. So I think there's just more. They're just more complicated and diverse issues to deal with. But as far as oversight and how I approach things, I don't think I will approach it in too much of a different manner.
Well, I imagine you've been successful and elected many times, and the first time by a landslide victory, according to your biography.
Yes, yeah, you're right. But I'm very inclusive. I try to get along with my Democratic colleagues. I try to get along with my Republican colleagues. I love to have people come forward. I don't want them to ever feel that this is their city hall. That's just my thinking. They have every right to access it. They have every right to come and talk. I think one thing I would really obviously right out the door state, and I've done this in the past, is I expect civility in the public meetings because we have a lot of folks, not a lot, but a majority of folks that come every other week, and they call us corrupt, they call us criminals. I mean, it's really bad from the standpoint. I mean, if they really believe that, they need to file a complaint with the district.
I've been to a lot of the meetings.
And get over it, right? But we have a lot of Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, our students come to our city hall. They don't need to listen to these awful attacks by these people that are just mean-spirited. And so I really want to set a tone that if this is how you feel, come to our office and call us that. But I think, and obviously they have a right to free speech, but I would be much more directive in that to ask them, I can't control it, but ask them to please show some kind of civility in our public meetings.
I want to go off script again and actually mention something from 2017. I remember I spoke about traffic and school buses. My first time I ever spoke was in January 2017 to the council. I was a little nervous, and the discussion was about traffic, and I wanted to be included. And I mentioned something about the district, and then you and Dawn on your own went and followed up on that, and then Dawn followed up with me. I thought that was amazing. I just want to thank you for that.
Well, of course, and you've been, in the city, very active, very participatory in what we're doing. And I love your stand on buses. I think that I've been on the liaison committee. I'm not this year, but I have been for many years for the school district. And I get very frustrated because, of course, I love our district. I think they're doing an excellent job. We all love our schools, but there's certain things that they don't like to move on. And I would believe that it would be very important to have school buses for the middle school and for high school because, it's not like your local schools. Obviously, your elementary, most people live close to their elementary school, but to get our students to go to the high schools and middle schools, there's usually some distance away from most residential areas. And I think it would certainly help with our morning traffic, with all the business traffic that's coming into the city. And this was one of your issues that you made very strongly during your run for school board. And I don't think we should drop it. I think we really need to keep pursuing that. Actually, I've asked my transportation commissioner, Steve Greenberg, to bring it up at one of the board meetings. It's just another way that we could help alleviate some of this morning traffic. It takes the pressure off the parents jumping in their car and driving 5-10 miles to get to a high school, right?
There are some buses. Actually, I didn't realize we were going to go so deep in that topic. I just had a meeting with Ira and Lauren from the school board a couple weeks ago about the school buses. And that's a whole nother topic or interview or podcast on that one. We don't want to get
sidetracked, but I was just suggesting that was really something you initiated, and I support it. I really believe that we need to have that as we move forward.
Well, I just wanted to highlight how nice you and Dawn have been to me. You guys didn't even know me, and I just want to say I appreciated that.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad I try to get along with people and be kind.
Yeah, and I remember I spoke to that, and I actually mentioned that I only spoke the second time was a few months later, and then I mentioned that he had followed up with me and he didn't know me, and it showed his professionalism, and he was a really good person. Right. And my time was almost up. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got to stop talking." And he just jokes. He says, "No, go ahead, keep talking," because I said,
Don's a great mayor. Yeah. You know what? He represents the city so well. He's a great orator. He can get up and he has a sense of humor. He just has that stature that people see him as a mayor. I'm more petite, so it's harder for people to think about me as being like in the role of a mayor. But Don just fits the bill, and he's just very professional. He's committed 100% to the city, and I know it was hard. He didn't really think it might be the wise thing for him to run for mayor, and I remember meeting with him several times. They said, "Don, you'd be the perfect mayor for Irvine." And I'm so glad he decided to do it. And that's why I really believe that he has the qualifications and capability of being our supervisor.
I agree with you on that one. So my next question, John Park says, what are your thoughts about districts for the council? Does Irvine need them?
Something I was talking to an individual about this the other day. I honestly don't, because a lot of what's gone on and the focus of districting is to make sure that there are representatives on a council body that represent certain demographics of a community. And the good thing about Irvine is that we're very integrated. We have as I said, very multicultural, diverse community, but we're all there's not one pocket of a certain demographic here, a certain demographic there. I would say across the city that we have many different cultures, but it's blended well. So I don't see the reason for that. I don't think that is necessary.
Okay. John, another question. John Park says, what will we do if Governor Newsom cuts off transportation funding because we don't build as much affordable housing as he wants, like how he's suing Huntington Beach?
Yeah, I think I would suggest that when I was up to Sacramento last year, I went with Melissa Fox with ACCOC. I would suggest that we invite the governor down to Irvine, because Irvine, though from the outside looks like, and we are basically a very wealthy community and respect others, but we have multiple affordable housing all over the city, but it's integrated. So we do have some separate projects, but a lot of it is integrated. It's just been what we've done over the years. So I'm really going to consider, when I've heard this, it's very difficult for us to build a lot more affordable housing, although I think there's some proposals coming in the next couple months for some additional ones. But because we're basically getting to a point of being at a build out, my suggestion had been, when I was up in Sacramento, is that because we have so many apartment complexes, more than I had ever anticipated or desired, I would like to find a way to provide 5 Points, the Irvine company, our major developers, a tax incentive to take what's already there, all these apartments, and find a percentage that they could turn into workforce housing and affordable housing. So we're not recreating the wheel and building more apartments, but we're giving incentives for these developers to open up some of these apartments, market rate, to turn them into workforce, that would be around $1,600 to $1,900 per month, and which is a lot better than what we see in a 2-bedroom today.
Yep.
And then also offering more affordable, but we give the developer this incentives, whatever they would be. It'd be something we'd have to talk about, negotiate. But then we're not building more and more mass housing that crowds our streets, right? We use the inventory we have. Mm-hmm. So I had some really good positive feedback when we were talking to some of the legislators. They liked that idea, but I would like to invite the governor down here to show him what Irvine's about, how many multiple apartments we have, and we really don't have the space to add any more, a lot more, units, or we'll have to, lock up the streets and start walking everywhere. Oh, wow. So that's kind of my suggestion. And I would like to kind of make that something that we would consider doing and proposing.
Okay. I got one last question here. Peter Warnock says, you're making a lot of progress with the organic herbicide movement. Can you tell us more about that?
Hey, thank you, Peter. Of course I am. That's so fantastic that you acknowledge it. So 3 years ago, some residents here in Irvine came to me, and I'm a cancer survivor. They went to all the council members, and there was some interest, but not much to put it on the agenda. So I spoke to them for a couple hours, and I said, look, I would love to add this to an agenda. I would love to see our parks, our open space, our green belts going organic applications and not toxic pesticides. So we put it on the agenda. And to my surprise, I did not think all my council members would support me, and it was unanimous. So for the last 3 years, as of February 2016, we have been using only organic products in our parks, our open space, our green belts. And when I go out to like the Pony Baseball or talk to some of the kids or families, I say, you can actually roll around and eat the grass because it's that healthy. Obviously, they're not going to do it, but it's really something marvelous. And I'll tell you, we have now 160 cities across America that have gone organic. I'm working with a nonprofit group that we reached out to the state of California, and we're trying to see if we can get the state to implement a program for school districts that require organic first. So it's been a wonderful thing. I'm very pleased about it. But as a cancer survivor, I know how important, not using toxic pesticides. I know some people, every month get their house sprayed for bugs and whatnot. It's very dangerous. It's just not. That's probably why we have such a high level of cancer cases all over. It's very high in Orange County, believe it or not. Oh, wow. Especially with the young children. They're very susceptible to these pesticides, harming them. So thank you, Peter, for that question. And it's been great. I've really enjoyed working on it, and I will continue to do so.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions we have. I just want to give you the final words.
Okay.
Do you have anything? I just want to give you the final word before we end.
I thought you wanted to give me final words.
No. I want to let you talk.
Okay, so I just want to say this conversation should really be about Dawn. And I just have to say, of all the candidates running, and it's sad that our Republicans have put in candidates that just don't have a chance. They know they don't have a chance. It just harms our opportunity to take the seat. But Dawn is the most qualified of all of the candidates running. And he was, on the school board. He also served in the assembly, so he understands state issues, he understands educational issues, and then, of course, now he's been a mayor of one of the major cities in the United States. So from that experience and being a business, his wife's a judge, and he's been in business for years as an attorney. So I just have to say, getting to know Don has just been wonderful, working with him. He's very easy to work with. He likes to compliment and work well with his colleagues. I just really encourage everyone that might be listening or will be listening to please consider voting for Don, and please do that on Tuesday.
I will. Yeah, I'll be voting for him too. And actually, once we're done, I'm going to head over to the campaign headquarters and go back to phone banking.
You've done a great job. I'll tell you, I'm so pleased. I get these pictures every day of all of you phone banking and walking precincts. And I've been trying to raise money for quite some time and do promotions as well. So we're all working together for a good common cause.
John Park is helping all, across the spectrum. Everyone is coming together to help out Don.
I appreciate that, John. I didn't realize you were doing so much. That's really great. That's wonderful to hear.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you. Well, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for the call. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, wait, we have one last question for you.
Okay.
Jeffrey, just in the comment section, says, "Hi, Mark. Can you please ask Ms. Shea, give me one word that describes Irvine?"
Fantastic.
Okay. There you go. He's watching. He just said comments and then.
Okay, good. It's fantastic. I love this.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, sure. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So, appreciate you guys joining us. I'm going to go ahead and end it. I don't want to add too much to this. It's been a really good interview with Mayor Pro-Tem Shea, which hopefully will be the mayor in a couple weeks once Don gets elected. That being said, I'm going to go back and go back and start phone banking and help Don Wagner get elected to be our next supervisor for Orange County. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.